Hello and welcome back to another episode of On Location, literally this time with Gabby and Harvey. So we have been interviewing so many different folks, and this episode is going to tie so many of them together because I'm excited to introduce William Lau from Revita. Hi, Will. Say hi to the audience there.
Hey, Harvey. Hi, audience. Hi, Gabby.
So the reason this is so exciting is because with the mural in the background, with so many things going on, every time we interviewed folks and we're like, hey, we're talking to people, we're doing this, every single one of them was like, you're gonna get Will though, right? You're gonna have Will on. And I'm like, yes, I will, but this guy gets it. But like, we just feel like it's ships passing in the night, that could be said. And it's like, we were both so busy, so many events happening and everything, but I did not want to end the show without having you on because so much of what you do is so amazing. And I'm gonna like touch base on a couple things, but so the folks at home kind of know, what is Revita and kind of how did you get it started and make it happen?
I didn't do much.
This will be good.
Well, first off, did I start it? Did
we
we get it happen? Well, it was definitely a team effort. It was super organic.
Okay.
Right.
How did it kind of like come to, why did you folks kind of, I'm sure you get this a lot, like, why did it, like, it's the revitalization of kind of like Chinatown, you need everything, like, what kind of brought that forward for you?
What brought it forward for me? Mm-hmm. Where do we start, hey?
Oh, give me the beginning. We're here. Yeah.
Yeah, we got an hour.
Yeah, we got an hour. That's right.
Well, this most recent chapter. Actually, I'll give it a little bit more context besides the recent chapter.
Yeah, please do, because I'm also now kind of curious. Yeah, most recent chapter.
Yeah,
okay,
recent. So the recent chapter I would frame as, let's say, the Vita Group coming together.
Okay.
All right, and how we started to gather and then choose to do things and all that. But even before that, I think a really important context there is, for years, if not decades, there wasn't really, let's say it was very difficult for younger folks to find a sense of belonging in the community.
Okay.
I'd say that was a gap for, so I got involved in like 2014.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And
over 10 years. Look at this guy. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And you can see that, like, yes, there's folks that go do lion dance, and folks that go join a Chinese orchestra or go do kung fu. But usually involvement in community is siloed or limited to that space, right? And it's usually our elders that take part in, the revitalization work, if you call it that, or the advocacy work. Or the bigger picture things around our community and how it's shaped, right? Growing up as, okay, yeah, you can perform, you leave, right? So I think like that's kind of what has been the status quo, which is so different from what you see now.
Yeah,
right?
no, it's night and day, like
night and day.
Yeah. And I do kind of understand that because, to its essence, even when I assisted with like the kind of Fascination Film Festival, many people just, be it like out of like ignorance, not knowing or whatever it may be, they were kind of like, oh, so like it's a festival like for Asians showing Asian films. And I was like, no. It is highlighting and elevating Asian voices, but anyone can come in here and watch. And it was like you had to kind of break that mold because many people were like, I don't want to like take up space if it's for this kind of cause. I don't want to like, kind of be here if I'm not, and kind of that. And I was like, no, you're more than welcome to be. just the premise of it is to elevate this. Like, how did you folks kind of like shift away from that and to be like, because I see like you consistently are more and more trying to be open and welcoming to everyone, to bring everyone in.
Yeah.
So how did that kind of shift? And
okay.
Yeah.
Well, there's two parts there.
Oh.
At least two parts.
Oh, more story and lore. Great.
Two things that come top of mind. And the second one is this poem.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay.
That's...
By the way, if we can panny, this poem belongs to a bigger grander mural that Harvey is going to pan over to. So before you get too worried, tell us, this mural is the mural that was done by our episode 1 guest, Busy Rock. So when we discussed the mural and the painting and everything, we were deep south side, so we couldn't really get anything on here. But we decided that for this one, it would be here or in his like first artwork piece, the White Tiger. But yeah, this is the Azure Dragon of the East that Brandon was able to paint, make happen, and everything. And you actually happened to work on the poetry for it, which is why we're highlighting that kind of in frame. Hopefully, Harvey. Yes, no, yes, yeah.
One more pen.
Yeah. Okay, so you said part 1 was kind of like the poetry.
Well, no, I'd say that's part 2.
Okay.
But I think I loved how you asked the question, like how? How did you get there?
Yeah. How did you get there?
How did we get there? Gradually.
Okay.
Right. I think Chinatown being a cultural enclave, right? And there's many cultural enclaves, and it in earlier days, and this is like where like from 2014 to now, there's been so many like shifts in mindset. And shifts in understanding, like watching what other folks are doing in other cities and learning from others that organize in the space here. So many learnings, learned so much from the folks around me, and in the earlier days, it was very much so. What Chinese friends do I know that might be interested in connecting with their roots, and assuming that was Chinatown, right? And if we have to consider the how, I can't pinpoint when.
Okay.
I can't pinpoint when or what that moment was, but there was a shift when I realized that the theory of change, if you call it, in Chinatown.
Okay.
For some folks, was very much so, the pathway to revitalization was very much so to remove the problems that they saw.
Okay. No, that's and
I'll continue.
Yeah, okay.
I'll continue.
Yeah.
Right? So yeah, for some folks, that's the theory to change, right? Like, how do you improve the community? How do you, what's our vision? And the pathway is quite clear. And there's that thread, and it took a while to see it because it wasn't articulated that way.
Okay.
Right. It was rarely articulated, but it was very much so. You could see in folks' actions and their requests and their advocacy that it was very much so. We can't get better. I mean, there's no point doing anything else until we remove these people. And I think that was a turning point for me, was that recognition. And because simultaneously, there's folks asking questions like, why do we need to support Chinatown, or why do it here? Right? Why not just build something in Windermere like Richmond is to Vancouver? Those are all very fair questions to ask. And at that point, when those questions came up, I said, yeah, this is the point. Like, if we have to harm others in the process of revitalizing Chinatown, then no, I don't want to be a part of it. And then there's that journey to say, okay, well, what does it look like to do the work here and help others rather than hurt others? And that, I say, was a part of like some of the founding values behind Revita. Right? I can't pinpoint when that mindset shifted, but it was at that certain point where I said, the work, some sort of work, didn't seem worth doing, and there seemed to be other ways to do it. Yeah.
No, and that's totally, like, again, it's a tough thing because on one hand, it's like I can see that point of view, definitely. Yeah. I can understand it. Although I'm kind of with you on the same sense of like, I'm not here, even like with work and everything I do, like the goal is never to remove and harm. The goal is like, okay, we don't like the current status quo. Yeah. How do we build upon it and improve it? Yeah. Right. But to many people, it's like, they kind of take the Pablo Picasso quote of like, every act of construction is at first an act of destruction. So you have to like, remove many things, clean up and everything before you can build up, which again, understandable, but it's also, in a way, it also takes out like the whole, like, in a way, like, does it not take out the whole reason behind why
Yeah.
you're doing all of this, and why you would have been like, thanks but no thanks.
Yeah, and there's like a part of me doesn't doubt that, you know, in everyone's like vision for like a vibrant community, that some of those elements will come into play. But I think it really came down to the intent of the work too. Right? Like when all of us are like volunteering, right, putting in our time like after work, after family and all these other priorities to do something, it's like I want to make sure we're here to do good, and that definition of good has really become more and more clear over time. I was a board member on the Chinatown Transformation Collaborative. At that time, Reach had started, wanted to start some sort of safety council.
Okay.
Wanted to figure out how to do it, looking for like low-hanging fruit projects to start, and they supported the start of this cleanup. And I loved it. Found it super therapeutic.
Yeah, that's actually the idea. Yeah. Like you're just like, it's nice. It's like you like cleaning your house or like cleaning your garage or and then but you just like I said, like you turn around and you just see like the street or whatever alley or anything. You're like,
exactly.
Yeah, sense of accomplishment. Yeah.
And I'd say like the intention in the beginning was very different from like what we ended up getting from it and taking away from it too, right? The intention in the beginning was, and I'm sure like cleanups as an activity that like many communities do. I'm sure others knew this more than I did, right? The sense of like helping folks, you know, grow their sense of ownership and agency in their communities, right? Right? How much like when the more effort you put into a space, the more you get, the more you take away, the more that grows, right? And the more you care, then you do the other things differently, right? So yeah, that I think the most magical piece about that for us. We had quite a few, and there are quite a few folks that criticized it as well. Right? There's folks asking, you know, this shouldn't be community responsibility. This should be city's responsibility. There's folks saying, you know, why, or what's the real impact if, like, you know, you clean up today, but there's garbage again tomorrow, because there's quite a bit of garbage and lots of reasons why. And so, like, lots of people ask those questions and prod, but at the end of the day, for us, like, besides the bit of cleanup we do, which is very satisfying, you know, we find that if it wasn't for the cleanups and the folks that kept coming month after month, and if it wasn't for the meals that we had together after, and the brainstorming and sharing of ideas of what we saw, what we learned, what we aspired for and hoped for the community, we wouldn't have Revita today.
No, and that's the part that's like so interesting to me, is that you consistently have multiple, like, we joke kind of off camera that in one of the first events that like I volunteered for, like I said, you folks kind of invited us out to dinner to kind of have feedback, but there was like, as soon as I entered, this giant sharing circle, and I had never in my life done like a sharing circle, I don't think. So I was just like, what's going on here? And then when I sat down, you made sure to go individually, one by one, to address kind of like any concerns, pain points, what can be done better, what can happen. And even like with the emails, systems, and everything you have, it's always like, give us your feedback. How did you like this? How did you folks kind of come up with the idea of like, I want to say like Chinatown After Dark? Because that one's like that one happened just recently. I got to volunteer for that one. Can you just explain to the folks what it is, when the next one is, and kind of like how it came to be?
Yeah, well, I'd love to. Which question should I start with first?
Oh, what it is first, yeah.
Okay. Sometimes we call it a night market.
Okay.
But it's not really a night market. Not too many things to buy. I guess it's most accurate to be called like a block party.
Ooh.
So perhaps more of a block party. We set up in an alley, and we, you know, drop some picnic tables, entertainment activities, and we ask folks to come in, buy tickets, and go to participating restaurants, like Taste of Edmonton, tickets for food. And, you know, you can come back if you want, but there's a place to hang out, right? So that's pretty much what it is. It's like Taste of Edmonton we used to call it half a block of Chinatown. Yeah. And now I think we can pretty comfortably say it's all of Chinatown.
Yeah, you know what? Having been to like the first one kind of a while back, now this one, like, it's crazy how many like more vendors and everything were open to the concept idea.
Yeah.
And you had like a whole thing of vendors like, and the beauty of it that I enjoyed is that while it starts in the alley, it kind of not forces, but like encourages. That's the yeah, there it is. This guy gets it.
We're here to
Yeah,
encourage.
yeah, it encourages everyone to kind of take a walk through to explore where all the vendors are.
I think like having been in enough events in our town, we made very intentional decisions to try something else. And even from the beginning, we said, you know what, like what is our goal here, right? Do we want to grow this to this huge festival that we call ours? And some of us have articulated this vision to say, no, this is a proof of concept, right? We want to show that Chinatown could be this. And if, like night markets around the world, if every business on a Friday night or Saturday night chose to stay open, chose to put a picnic table out, chose to downsize their menu a little bit so that folks could enjoy multiple restaurants in one night, we wouldn't have to do anything.
Oh.
Right?
Okay.
Chinatown could be this. Friday nights in Chinatown could be this. Nightlife in Chinatown could be this.
Okay.
Right? So that's kind of been our mindset through this. And in the meantime, all right, if folks aren't there yet, we'll do the work. Right?
Awesome.
Sure, we'll gather. Right?
Yeah, no, that's like, and like I said, it's kind of a interesting thing because, I did notice that like it began in like one particular area, then moved to another, like, and if I'm not mistaken, it's growing. We
want people to come when they come to feel comfortable, right? And I think it's going to be this rather slow process where folks start to explore, right? Even if they're a little bit uncomfortable, right? I think one of my favorite responses to someone on Reddit that was curious was, if you have an inch of curiosity, why don't you just drive through? And if you feel like the vibe is decent and you feel comfortable enough, then park and get out. Right? If you don't feel safe, don't stop by. Just And I think it's a personal journey for all of us. Right? We all have lots of, and I know I used to as well, had lots of stereotypes and assumptions around what the neighborhood was, what people were or were like. And it took time to be in the neighborhood more, right? From living in the suburbs to choosing to live here, to choosing to spend more money in restaurants here, to be closer to the street, and to walk around at night and say, how is it? Right? And I'm even privileged, right? I'm sure it feels very different for a female to walk through. Right?
Yeah.
And so I think it's constantly been this journey of learning, and I'd say like there's been so many blessings through this work, and one of the key blessings is how some of our core team members, Sarah Dotimus and others now, Jen and Jillian and others, worked in the social sector, worked at the agencies for years, right? And they've been such great community connectors to shape how we do our work and invite all community members to the space to have fun together.
Awesome. We're just gonna let this car pass through as we're back here. Okay. I am going to pick it up and ask you, and this might be more of a personal question, but you just dropped me a nugget here that I want to expand on, because I find that too when I'm trying to tell folks kind of about this event, these concerns come up. So I wanted to ask you personally, how did you kind of begin to be like, you said you had these stereotypes and everything, like what was the catalyst that helped you kind of like, in your given thing, be that Redditor journey, that like give it a chance kind of thing?
It started with the cleanups.
Oh.
Yeah. I'd say it started with the cleanups because cleanups are also a very, very rare opportunity nowadays to have an excuse or a reason to walk through Chinatown.
Oh.
Right? Most people wouldn't walk through, right? Even if you're shopping, you go somewhere, you eat, you leave, right? You drive intentionally to where you're going.
Yeah,
right?
And then...
you don't park somewhere and walk around Chinatown.
Yeah.
Not many people do, right? We do now, right? So it was the cleanups that gave us first the reason to, in a group, or at least in a pair, to walk around. And there were days where our first cleanup, I did that 106 Ave, right outside Hope Mission. Right, and there was those interactions, the thank yous from community members. And they'd say things like, oh, we didn't want to leave this year, I was going to clean it up later. Or, yeah, I was going to, but the garbage can there's full and you can see it. Like, folks are super friendly.
Yeah,
right?
That's...
Like, folks were genuinely friendly. And yeah, I'd say like it was interactions like that started to change things. And it was over years, right? Where I mentioned Sarah Donomus, she worked at the business center, ran a community drop-in. She actively showed up and supported the cleanups and role modeled for everyone in that room what relationships could be like, right? So like and I have to give her so much credit because she has so much love for the community.
Mm-hmm.
And when you start to surround yourself with, or spend a bit more time with folks like Sarah, I could honestly say that like Chinatown's one of the like, it's one of the most loving neighborhoods in the city. There's so much love out there.
Oh no,
It's
it's true. It's true though, because it's wild from just coming out to volunteer. Harvey's also volunteered like behind camera and everything. Like, I don't know, my first time coming out to everything, I was one of the skeptic voices. And no, it's like because I hated that I was.
We all do.
Because like I had come to like train here at a martial arts club. Like I love like Miramah down the street there. Used to be there, yeah. Like so many things. And as like I feel like as things went in a different direction with the pandemic and everything, I myself was like, drive by. Or like if I had to go and eat at the places I like to eat, you're right. Like I came by, picked up, left. Like I never took 2 seconds to kind of consider that like this is still a community. People live here, people enjoy it, like people have a huge amount of passion for it and everything. And then it was like doing volunteering for this that really made me go like because so many people like you had bleachers, you had seatings, you had, was it like 2,000 or so, like
probably 10,000.
Oh, like 50,000. It was actually 100. No, like no, like it was such a huge amount of people that came out for this unveiling. And it wasn't until I kind of stood there and looked and saw how many people came together. And the funniest part is like, even if people came to attend, they were like, how can I help?
Yeah.
Right? Even if like, and like I was like moving like the wash station, and then like 3 people were like came by and helped me move. I'm like, you're not volunteers, but they just understood that like you are trying to build and do something here. You're trying to make it happen. And it was just funny, like everyone came together. You didn't have like any like tension or like, because everyone was just here to see what's going on, to see like improvements, to hang out, to chat, to eat, to engage. And yeah, it's like it's an insane thing. Like I want to say like probably 10 steps this way, and I was looking at like an entire parking lot that was just like filled with people just who came out to see what's going on, and just like all of them enjoyed, participated, helped, like, and I was like, man, like, and in my head I was like, honestly, if I give this place a chance, it's like it can change, it can, like, but I had, and I held that in my heart for a long time, like, it's too far gone, or like there's just no, like, what are the chances, like, like.
That's why, actually, going back to your point and Harvey's point too, can we introduce the poem real quick?
Yes, please.
Because it ties in really well, right? The poems as they're written, lots of folks, even Chinese, they read it and like, I I can read it, but I have no idea what you mean.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of context behind the poem to really share kind of what we feel is like the most important message at this time. And often the messages really do challenge our current dominant narratives as well.
Now, my Chinese is not that great.
Okay.
But can you walk me through kind of like the poem itself? And what did it take to kind of create it? Because you worked with awesome friend of the show, Megan's dad, to kind of bring this forth. Was this something that you continually practiced? Did you kind of practice with him for this piece? Like, how did that, how did you kind of come up with it? And then B, the idea of like the calligraphy and then incorporating it into the piece.
Yeah.
So what was that like for you?
Okay. So first off, I'm not much of a poet.
Oh, that's okay. We all are deep down inside.
Yeah. I can write. So this is Uncle Stephen Sang's writing.
Okay.
He wrote it. We first drafted the poem, right? Chinese and English, and it rhymes in English, Cantonese, and Mandarin.
Oh, that's
pretty impressive.
Okay.
That, if anything, that was like the work.
Okay.
Right, and then I think the key contribution to it though was the meaning and the intent behind it.
Okay.
That's kind of the work that was put forward, and working with Busy to say, okay, what's important right now in Chinatown, right? What would help guide our collective work in a good way that isn't the dominant narrative at this point, right? So of course, in Busy's concept, the guardians are already selected. There are four guardians that are, in mythology, and we're not going to throw in a random random beast in there,
That's
right?
Correct.
Correct. Yeah.
So fire away, but I'm gonna. So just so the folks at home know, is it this way?
Yeah.
Going this way? Again, my Chinese is not great, but
So top right.
Okay.
Heading down.
Okay.
I'll read it in Mandarin.
Sure.
Qinglong, that's the azure dragon.
Okay.
Xiangyu, it's like this action of gliding through.
Okay.
Right? And that's because when we start to frame the dragon, we say, no, there's a risk of it being too aggressive, too overpowering.
Okay.
Right. So the choice of words here is in the dragon gliding through, soaring through peacefully, gently through a neighborhood, rather than guarding. Right? Hua Bu Tian. So it actually, that's not the first line. It actually ends at the top there.
Okay.
So right. So kind of soaring and gliding through Chinatown skies. That's where we are. That's where we are. Second phrase, 海纳百川, is a phrase, 4-character phrase that illustrates, hundreds of streams flowing to one body of water, right? The same ocean. 汇景城, the weaving of this beautiful, vibrant tapestry. And that's to speak about the diversity in our neighborhood. Right? As the azure dragon is soaring through our communities, it's not here to guide. It's here to welcome all people, as diverse as you are, no matter who you are, wherever you're from, and acknowledging that through that diversity, we're going to create something very, very beautiful. Right? Third phrase now, top of this third line.
Just the third line here, just for Harv. Yeah.
敬土地 is respect for our land.
Nice. Okay.
Right? As we're here in the space. And these are the reminders that the azure dragon is giving us, right? Yes, we're more beautiful when we're all together. But hey, respect the land. 守誓言, uphold treaty. Be of integrity. Hold your promises, keep your promises. And that refers to, our treaty responsibilities as folks. There's many, many broken promises between community, in this case, the Chinese community at multiple levels of government. Right, the LRT tearing down the gate.
Yeah.
There's been many examples of of times where institutions did not treat us well. And the last line here, 文脉流长，共兴盛. 文脉 refers to culture and this flow of culture, as if it's like through your veins and through your body.
Oh, okay, nice.
流长 refers to flowing steadily and well, flowing healthily. A heavy flow.
Yeah, I guess.
Right. So we're thinking about culture here, and when it's not just dripping, but it's when it's gushing through whatever.
Yeah, making it happen.
Right, that's how
keeping it alive.
Yes.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
共兴盛, all boats rise. We will all prosper.
Oh.
And that's the reminder that, like, as we consider revitalization, it's the flow of culture that keeps this Chinatown. It's not a building. It's not necessarily just any business. If our work isn't grounded in culture, it's gentrification. If we're not serving the folks that are here, housed or unhoused, we're displacing. And there's a way where we can have all succeed and all achieve prosperity when we ground our work in culture and support.
Before we close it off and everything, anything you'd love to leave off with the audience at all? Any closing thoughts?
Be curious.
Oh.
Yeah, be curious. And keep an open mind. Right? Yeah, because we don't know it all. I still don't know it all. I've not known it all yet. Yeah. That's all I'll say. And if you're curious, come check it out.
Oh, see, that's a good one there. But I think we've taken up quite a bit of time. People are starting to leave. Cars are going to be coming in and out of here, and I think we've hit our hour. Will, you've been amazing. Really appreciated having you on.
Thank you.
Thank you for like being so open and vulnerable to sharing like how much you care. So I do appreciate you taking the time, making a makeshift kind of like little on location studio here to make it all happen. And thank you for being our guest. But as always, folks, this has been On Location with Gabby and Harvey. Harvey is behind the camera.
Thank you, Harvey.
Yeah, thank you for all the work. Thank you, Will. And we'll catch you at the next one. Bye.